Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. It was bound to happen in the last few days of October. Tomorrow looks spectacular, headed for 65 or 70 for the next couple days. Just about to go catch the school bus, but when I get a spare minute here or there, I'm kind of tinkering on my SFI cased Powerglide build for myself. And while you were gone, I've done a couple things. Thought I'd catch you up before I go ahead and throw a few parts in the case when I get time. So, I have a TSR trans-brake valve body. They're over in New Hampshire. One of the many companies. It's not billet, it's made from a stock valve body. If I was to buy another one, I'd probably buy a billet one, only because they're lighter. Function-wise, probably doesn't make a difference. Per their instructions, they say to drill a 1/16 bleed hole, carefully, starting from this side, miss the quad ring groove, which I did, and out the back. The theory being, when this is not applied, when it's going to apply, there might be air trapped in there, but once it's pushed up against the clutch pack, the steel, which is wet with oil, is going to block the hole. So it will not be leaking when the reverse piston is applied, but it will help get any air out of there. So while you're setting the trans brake, hopefully it won't roll, I guess, is a theory. Maybe faster apply, who knows. Also, I suppose, faster release if there's air caught behind it, because this goes in the very top. You put the bleed hole as you set the piston in on the top. So I did that. I also cut 50 thousandths off the width. I had measured my clutch clearance through this hole right here. I had about 28. You need, 75 to 120. So I'm going to be on the tighter side of the spec. So I cut 50 off this. That should be around 78-ish. And that'll be good. These are, as I mentioned, quad rings. They're square cut O-rings. If you lube the case up real good and this up real good, you can pretty much push them in by hand. There's no tools required, no lip wizard, anything like that. Just plenty of lube. The case is slightly chamfered to help you on the outside and the inside. And worst case scenario, you can bump it down, but you shouldn't have to. You should push right in. As I mentioned in the other videos, that's a JW Performance billet piston. It machined really nice. I have new release springs, a new retainer, new snap ring, just stuff I'd picked up. And accompanied by this tool, also I bought from TSR. Again, I'm not associated with them. They had a bunch of tools for sale, Powerglide related, back a couple years ago. I've always done it the hard way. I have another style that clips into the snap ring groove to compress the spring. This works a lot better. The little grooves here fit into the snap ring groove. You tighten it down, compress the springs, put the snap ring in, and you're done. It's kind of a trick, but if you did it every day, it wouldn't be so bad. When you do it every couple years, well, you'll get it. I had to dig up a couple bearings. I bought a bearing kit for a Powerglide, but it didn't come with everything I needed. So I went out in my box of Powerglide parts, and I think I have, this is a new bearing that sits down in the case. Fits on a little shelf down there. It's double shielded. It goes either way. There's no front or back that I'm aware of. And this is what your planetary set rests against and against the back of the case. Speaking of bearings, this little half-sided one, you can see the rollers on this side. This side has a step. This doesn't come with you. I have a brand new 180 straight cut planetary. Does not come with this little bearing. I wish it did. This bearing sits into the planetary, and this pressure plate for your high clutch drum comes with the planetary, and this groove sits right in there like that. they should include that. I mean, planetary set's $1,000. That bearing's $3 probably, so it would just hold you up if you didn't know you needed it to assemble. So fortunately, I had done my homework, and I believe the bearing kit I bought did come with this, but I used it on the last one, or perhaps it ended up in the box outside. Either way, I believe that's brand new, and we should be good. My JW Performance direct clutch, 10 clutch direct clutch drum is already rollerized. This goes against the pump, because that's all there is in the Powerglide. You get minimal parts, which is kind of nice. Also from TSR, I'm starting to sound like a commercial. I had bought, it's nothing but a piece of, man, I guess it's, not even quite 1/4 inch aluminum plate, drilled to bolt on here, and you blow air in the fitting, and it'll apply the reverse piston, so you can check out, make sure that works okay. With this aftermarket case, I think if my rubber tip blowgun's gonna seal, there's not a big cavity like there is in the stock case, so I don't think I even need the tool. The combination of parts that I now have a Torrington style bearing or a roller bearing in every possible place. There's one in the back of the case that supports the output shaft. I also got a rollerized support. This bolts on the back. After I install the rear clutches for the last time, the reverse clutches, I like to lay the case on its back, and that's why I left the bell housing on it, kind of pointed off the bench. I'll take the part of the planetary that fits down into the reverse clutches, and I go ahead and put it in the reverse clutches and put my bearing on the back of the case or on the output shaft and just kind of feed the planetary unit down into the case. The Powerglide does not have the holes cast into the side of it like a Turbo 350, 400, 480, etc. to fit my bench mount. So working on it from here on out, if you had a hole in your bench, about that size, that'd be sweet. The rest of the time, you have a hole in your bench, not so sweet because things fall in it, oil drains down through it. So I have a hole here. I don't know if it's still on camera, but I made a hole that goes into my vise on my bench. And I will I'll cut a hole in a rag to set it over there because I don't want to scratch up my case. And after I get the planetary in the transmission, I'll pick it up, set it in there so the case is going to be about yay high while I assemble the high clutch drum, which is not a big deal. Well, the input shaft, the high clutch drum, miscellaneous pieces. And then to put in the low band and all the pieces, it's a lot easier when it's about this up this high. And you can put the high clutch drum in first, and then you can set the band down there and maneuver the band struts in, working through this opening right here. You don't have to try to do it all at once. You can go ahead and put the high clutch drum in, and then you can just barely maneuver the band into place. While you're assembling the band, it's helpful to have your whole servo, gasket and all, mounted in the side of the transmission, but leave the bolts loose so the servo is actually sticking out. You haven't compressed the spring yet. That gives you a little more working room. You can tighten it up and still get the parts in there, but it's a lot easier if you go ahead and get things close. You can gradually tighten the bolts, make sure things aren't jamming up over here. And then your band adjusting screw, which is on the other side, I only thread it in until it's just starting to poke through the case. And then you have another strut over here you got to line up. So it's a little bit of balancing, but not that hard, very straightforward. The band strut that goes on the adjustment rod side can go either way. The one that goes on the servo side has to go, it's bent up away from the servo and then bend back toward the band. So when in doubt, look it up in the manual. I pretty much forget every time. it'll fit either way. It's only technically correct one way, so basically it wants to come up toward the band. I have a lot of work to do to the stock pump. I have to change the stator tube and drill a bunch of holes, do some welding on it, so that'll be as much work as putting the transmission together to this point. You know, I also got to clean it and everything else. I have new pump gears for it and make sure those have the proper clearance. But when you're ready to check end play, Powerglides are pretty simple. Again, I'll be in my little hole, bench mounted hole, so everything's free to move. You don't want to pull up on the input shaft because you'll just pull it out and disturb the wetting band. A little brass piece at the thread, goes into this little black piece, a continuation of the splines in the hub. So you hold your hand over that, you can grab a hold of the output shaft and the whole thing goes up and down. And that's how you determine your end play. So, pretty simple. Again, just don't grab the input shaft because it's going to give you false readings. So, hold it against the planetary and just bounce it back and forth. Where this JW drum has been machined a little bit to accept this roller bearing, I assume I potentially might need some shims between here and the back of the pump. So, that remains to be seen. I have a FTI 8 clutch drum as well. It is not cut, and you can see where this area is proud right here, where mine's been cut, recessed. So, all things to consider. I guess that's it today. I hear the bus coming, so time to run, and I'll catch you in a couple days.